Welcome everybody to the first episode of Hope and Struggle. I had this whole plan to do a video on Israel and Palestine and what we should do and how to handle it, Joe Biden and all this other stuff, everything that wraps up into it. But I changed my mind. I'm going to come from the heart, and I'm going to talk about struggle. We have a long history in this country where we've gathered together in hopes that we push our elected officials, our government, into doing the right thing. We all know about the lobbying groups and the money, that these deep pockets put their money into our elected officials, to their groups, to their organizations, and they buy out the news and they buy out the media and they buy out people. But I don't care about the libs of TikTok and Ben Shapiro and any other mouthpiece for the bourgeois. I don't care about the lapdogs. I don't care about complaining. What I do care about is our society as a whole, our country, the people. I think one thing that the left has lost its focus on is how much we have in common, that we're all one paycheck away from being homeless, that we're all deciding, do we get our medication or do we buy food? When are we going to be able to buy the clothes for our kids? When are we going to be able to go on a vacation? We all have that problem. Is that the things that we produce and the production in general goes to profit? I believe it should be changed. And I believe that most likely you all do too. I think instead of products and production, our hard work going into profits for to big banks and to big builders and company owners and business owners and big giant CEOs, I believe that money, that profit that we help create, goes into access for everyone. It was brought to our attention in 2008, in 2008, we have this housing crash. I used to build houses. That was my business. I spent 20-something years building houses, remodeling houses, repairing houses. That was my life. And just like that, it was taken away from me. I was homeless with my family, living in a tent, in parks, in campgrounds. I was aware how society worked. I understood capitalism, and I was already a socialist. But in that situation, you don't blame the economy. You don't blame your job. You blame yourself. And that's what they do. You're thrown out into the middle of an ocean with just a lifesaver and told, survive. That's capitalism. Capitalism had its great moments, but it's done. It's starting to decay, and we know it's starting to decay because our society is falling apart. We have hate groups, running through the streets. We have, people are starting to try and ban books or succeeding at banning books. Everyone's alienated from each other. So stop the alienation. We're not surviving. And if we are, we're barely surviving. So what do? Our history shows us what to do. When African Americans, black people were, segregated, beaten, tortured, murdered, they rose up. They band together, and by the numbers, they got the right to vote. They got the right to be part of society. Women. There was a time when women weren't allowed to vote in this country. We know what to do because history has told us what to do. It's time to set aside our petty differences. We just got to stop plucking butt hairs. I know that there's some leftists out there that want nothing to do with the elected officials. They don't want to talk to them. They don't want to think about them. Fine. So get out in the street. For those of you who do want to take part in what little democracy we have here, get out in the street too. Write your senators, write your congressmen, write your mayors and your governors. Get the word out that we are banding together from this point on. We are banding together to do what is right, to do what is just. We're here to seek a new way. We have to, or we're not going to survive. The only way to make stronger democracy is to use what little democracy you have now. The freedoms of speech, we can go out, we can assemble, we can speak our minds. Those movements, or those actions become movements. Those movements push society. We're waiting for another Bernie Sanders. We shouldn't have been waiting for Bernie Sanders in the first place. The way Bernie Sanders was, the reason we had a Bernie Sanders was because the 2008 crash. When Obama took office, we wanted, people got in the street. The whole 99% Occupy movement ran across the country, ran across the globe. Obama was pushed to fix the economy, but he didn't do a great job. He didn't do the right job. Because we didn't force it. Because we didn't tell him what to do. Or how to do it. The big banks did. The first bill that he pushed, I think it's HR 686 or 786, I can't remember, but it was a national health care plan where insurance companies and public insurance could work together. But Wall Street wrote his bill, wrote the bill that, where we got Obamacare. It wasn't us. We don't take part, and that's what we need to do. We need to come together to unite and create these movements, these organizations, join organizations. If you can't find those organizations, find 5 friends and then get in the middle of your town, go to your city halls, go to your city council meetings and talk to your mayor. Just gather people together because the numbers is what we have. The numbers. They may have the money, but they do not have the numbers. And that's how we gain power together. That's how we create democracy together. I joined a political organization that taught me organization, collectivity. And that's the focus. Working people in this country have separated. They don't want to work together anymore. They're a bit too busy fighting with each other because that's what the right's propaganda told them to do. I don't care what the lapdogs and the mouthpieces for capitalists say. I don't care. I ignore it. I read the news. I'm worried about the system. The system is decaying, and we're doing nothing. It's falling apart. Our Earth is in trouble. We have the means and the ability to fix it, to allow it to repair itself, and not enough of us are coming together to take action. If you want elected officials that are going to do the right thing, then we have to create those elected officials. We have to create those opportunities, those movements, and it will be hard. And they will do what they can to break us up and divide us and smash our movements apart and, devalue, what we are doing in our process. I've watched it time and time again. So in, during the Occupy movement, everything that was on the news, everything that came across mainstream media was, they don't even know what they want. They're just a bunch of college kids that want free college, but they all dropped out to come march here. Nonsense. George Floyd. During the George Floyd movement. Oh, it's just a bunch of riots. The kids are going crazy in the street. Not the truth. It's just not the truth. We know what we want. We know why we want it. It's the how that's becoming the problem. We've been so divided, so segregated from each other as workers that we don't even know which side is heads and which side is tails anymore. Medicare for all. Some sort of national health program. You have the right to health care. So take it. Housing. The prices are skyrocketing. You have the right to housing. We need affordable housing. And we need housing that will be comfortable for either ourselves or our families. Education. While I don't necessarily believe that our education system is the best at all, we should be teaching kids how to teach themselves. But instead, we're teaching kids how to take a test, how to be an obedient servant to their job. Thinking outside of the box for corporations is how to expand the corporation. Do we have enough jobs? I mean, I know we can have enough jobs. I don't even care if passing a part is a job. You from one machine to another. If your job is to stand there and pass a part from one machine to another, from one person at a machine to another person at a machine, make that a job. It can be. Sure, it's a mundane job, but it's a job. We're not getting paid our value either. The Fight for 15 movement should be now the Fight for 20 movement, if not 25. $25 an hour minimum wage. That's what makes more sense to me. If you work, you should be able to survive, and no, not by the skin of your teeth. We know what we need. It's time to take it. I don't want you overthrowing the country. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying to get out, use our numbers to sway the system. Create movements. The movements that Bernie Sanders created, where'd they go? I mean, I know people who are in those movements. I know people fighting for Medicare for all. I know people, fighting for a higher minimum wage. I know people, but they're not doing it together. And trust me, it's not as big as it was. When Bernie Sanders was cheated out of office, we lost our will. They cut off the head of the dragon, and that was it. I'm not saying anything you don't know as a leftist. I'm not saying anything you haven't learned as a leftist. It's time to quit plucking butt hairs for each and every other group. And it's time to truly work together. We're waiting for heroes, but maybe you're the hero that we're looking for. Again, organize. Organize. work for greater democracy, find a way to be involved in the system. And they will do whatever they do. They'll trick us again. All of that, all of those, well, I'll just put it this way. We've been duped. We've been duped. We were had. They said, oh my God, people are coming with pitchforks. They want Medicare for all. They want free education. They want better or more affordable housing. They want. We knew what we were asking for. They knew what we were asking for. We were moving that way. So what did they do? Take women's rights away. Alienate the LGBTQ community. They're alienating us. Even if you're a man, you're affected by abortion rights. Even if you're a straight couple, you are affected by the LGBTQ laws. It's not one of us. It's all of us. They're not attacking a section of us. They're attacking all of us. They are doing what they do best. They're separating us. They're jumping in front of us. They are tripping us before we even get started. Those movements matter. The earth matters. Human lives matter. And the structure of society matters. I'm going to end by saying this. Please like, subscribe, share, organize, and agitate. In my town, city council members were having a meeting on expanding the convention center. And then the people got up and wanted to be heard. So they did this.
I hope that you will accept the challenge to form or pass a resolution in favor of ceasefire now.
I come forth today to urge you all to endorse a ceasefire resolution. I urge you all to endorse a ceasefire resolution.
And I come before you today to seek your sponsorship and support of a ceasefire resolution.
I'm here tonight to urge the City Council to adopt a resolution calling for an immediate and long-term ceasefire in Gaza.
I would ask you to take up this resolution that's going to come before you to a ceasefire.
And we're calling here for a ceasefire.
What we're going into here by not acting on a ceasefire is that we are going to be just fomenting many, many more wars and a lack of being a voice for peace.
I would suggest that just as you are responsible for physical infrastructure, its roads, its bike paths, its parks, you are also responsible for our democratic infrastructure.
The only way forward is a ceasefire now. Thank you.
By making our community complicit in these unjust, violent, and harmful acts, we therefore ask the Common Council to swiftly endorse the proclamation affirming the City of Bloomington's support for an Israeli-Palestine ceasefire and permanent resolution to the conflict.
So the reason I'm here is to also call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, as well as opening up humanitarian aid.
California had one of the first cities that passed a ceasefire resolution. It was in Hayward. It was not performative. Now that 70 cities across the U.S. are following suit, let's add our name to that. Let's make it 1,000. It becomes actionable and effective when more and more cities start to pass ceasefire resolutions.
Not doing an action is an action. It is telling everybody that you support genocide and you support killing.
The City Council passed a ceasefire resolution to put a stop to the genocide in Gaza.
First of all, I support definitely the ceasefire, permanent ceasefire, not just few minutes or to allow food and aid comes to Gaza or goes to Gaza.
I'm a 65-year-old Jewish American I was raised in a large Jewish family in the wake of the Holocaust. We had neighbors with tattooed numbers from Auschwitz on their arms. My closest friend in the world never knew cousins or grandparents. All of them died in the camps. And my parents, may their memories be blessing, raised me to know that when genocide is unfolding, you don't continue with business as usual. You don't do the minimal. You do everything. So if you think, well, is this city business? Maybe not, so we don't have to do it. Or maybe not, but we'll do it anyway. Because when it's genocide, we do everything to have it stop. And if that had happened in the 30s, fewer Jews would have died. So that's what this is about. Will you do business as usual, or will, because it's genocide, you'll do everything? This is not anti-Semitic. This is about radical love. Support a ceasefire. Let Gaza live.